I watched Within the Pines on Prime Video at midnight with headphones on, and honestly, it affected me more than I expected it to, right? Like, horror lives or dies by its sound design. If you have really good sound design, you'll usually get really good scares. If you have shit sound design, the scares usually fall flat, right? Think of A Quiet Place, Hush, Don't Breathe, Skinamarink, right? These are all movies that illustrate how sound and silence can be weaponized to build tension and scares in a movie. Like, I remember watching A Quiet Place in the cinemas, and the person next to me didn't want to eat their popcorn because the movie was so quiet they didn't want to make a sound. That is fantastic sound design, right? So today we're going to be discussing Within the Pines, which is Paul Evan Thomas's new movie. And I'm going to talk about the sound design in this movie because sound is used as a narrative plot point, which I think is fucking genius for a horror film. I love when this genre throws me a new mechanic to play with. I'm going to talk about how it fits into the current horror landscape, what I liked about it, what I struggled with. And I'm also going to talk about what you should watch next if you like this one. As a sound horror fan, this movie was really clever in how it used its sound. So as always, let's dive in spoiler free. Within the Pines follows Sam, a professional sound recordist who escapes to an isolated forest in South Australia. He's obviously something big's going on in Sam's life. He's avoiding people. He's dodging calls. He just wants to escape civilization instead of dealing with whatever's going on. So he decides to just drive to an isolated set of bush and record his own dreamy forest music Spotify playlist. It's going how you'd expect. He's pointing his super sensitive microphone at, crunching leaves, snapping twigs, bubbling brooks, the usual forest ambience, until he picks up a sound that does not belong in the forest. And like every good horror protagonist, instead of running away and getting help, he decides to head towards the sound and investigate. We thank him for that. And that's when this movie shifts from peaceful nature doco to something way more sinister and tense. Clocking in at only 70-minute runtime, which I appreciate the shit out of. This movie... Weirdly, the first part of this movie feels a little bit slow, but it goes at a fucking clip. Once it's established, you're in, and it is tense. You're trying to work out what's going on. You're trying to piece the mystery together. This is a good one. So it's probably unsurprising, but this movie has exquisite sound design. I watched this at night with headphones on, and the crunch of every leaf was crisp. It does something very interesting where it uses Sam's super sensitive directional mic, almost like the motion detector from Aliens, right? Because it's such high quality and he's a professional sound recorder, he uses it with noise cancelling headphones. So if he wants to work out his surroundings and what might be coming towards him, he has to put the sound cancelling headphones on and hope that he catches the offending entity within his working arc. And it's this buff debuff that works really well, because if he can pick everything up crystal clear here, but he can't work out if someone's sneaking up behind him or coming in from the sides. So he's sort of got to use it like a dowsing rod, like a sound dowsing rod. And it's a really clever way to use this debuff system, because it's something really powerful, but it doesn't just tell him where all things are at all times, right? That'd be overpowered. And that keeps things really, really tense, because there are parts of this movie where he is running, and because he's running, he's got the mic down by his feet, so you can hear all the twigs snapping and the leaves crunching, but you can't hear anything else. Everything else is sort of muted. So you can't get your bearings, you can't get your senses in line, you can't work out where things are and how close they are. And I love it when a movie fucks with my senses like this one does. The acting by Brendan Cooney is pretty great. He does exactly what he needs to in this. This movie is basically a solitary procedural, so you are just watching one person solve a problem by themselves. So there's not a lot of dialogue. It's sort of reminiscent of Headhunter or The Revenant. And I think that works particularly well for this movie, because you crane forward in your chair to try and listen, to try and pick up contextual clues. There are a few scenes in this movie, though, that gave me a pit in my stomach. one scene in particular with a character checking a car, and their actions don't make sense at the time. You're like, what the fuck is this person doing? Why are they doing this? And then when you work out what they're doing, your heart just sinks, right? It stressed me out. Like, there's a scene in this movie that really stressed me out. This movie is not interested in a lot of backstory or explanation. It doesn't care. You can read between the lines and probably work everything out, but you don't have to if you don't want to. You can just it's very like real-time movie. You can just watch what's going on. And I really like that because it doesn't explain away the scary. I think this movie, where everyone ended up in this movie, I really liked. I did not expect an ending like this in a movie like this. Like, this movie has a very specific vibe, and I thought I knew where this movie was going, but it doesn't, and it's I really appreciated that. I love it when a movie can surprise me. So now for the issues. This is a very small budget indie film from a first-time feature film director, so there are some noticeably rough edges. The big one is that this movie takes place at night, and you can sort of, in some scenes, you can tell that they had to use a light to light Sam up, right? Now, it didn't take me out of the movie because I know there is a real-world logistical reason for it. Like, they had to shoot at night. How else are you going to do it? But I did notice it, which means it's probably not as smooth as the team were hoping. The other one too, it's a small one, is there is a character takes a tumble in this movie, and for a few seconds the camera switches to their POV as they're tumbling, and the way the character's falling and the way that the camera is tumbling do not match. And that is very nitpicky, but what I'm trying to illustrate to you is that you shouldn't go in expecting Fincher or Robert Eggers level of attention to detail from this film. At least not yet. Not from this director so early in their filmography. Maybe one day, because I'll tell you what, I'll be there day one for Paul Evan Thomas's next one, because this movie proved that they have horror chops. And for what it is, for the little small-time indie film, I've heard nothing about this film. It literally just popped up in my Prime Video algo. I think they did a wonderful job. You should watch this if you love horror where someone stumbles upon a crime or horror entity. If you don't mind a slow burn survivalist horror, if you love sound design and horror, I'm a huge Kiyoshi Kurosawa and Philippou Brothers fan, and they both use sound design with like devastating force. The sound design in this is really good. It is a part of the narrative, and I thought it was absolutely wielded with surgical precision. You shouldn't watch if you like to logically like nitpick horror movies. This is not one for that. Okay, this is sort of just a day in the life of movie. If you hate silly character actions, most horror films have them, but Sam does some particularly stupid shit sometimes, and I'm like, come on, dude, you're better than this. But other than that, I found this one a fun watch. So if you like this one, I'm going to recommend you one of my go-to underseen horror movies. Like Within the Pines, it is a movie about a guy in the woods who stumbles upon something horrific. It also stars Scream King Devon Sawa, and I will watch anything Sawa is in. I love that man. So, Hunter x Hunter, right? Not Hunter x Hunter, not the anime. I swear to God, if I get one comment being like, hey dude, I watched that movie you recommended and it's like a cartoon about a kid who gets abandoned. No. Hunter x Hunter from 2020. It's about a family surviving out in the Canadian wilderness. They are just barely scraping by, living off the grid. They are hunting and trapping and gathering. One day, Joseph, which is Sawa's character, and his daughter Renee, they're checking the traps and they stumble upon something chilling, real creepy. This movie is so goddamn good. This movie starts off as I would call a slow burn. You're like, okay, this is going to take its time to set up all the pieces and do that. Where it ends is phenomenal. This is one of my favorite endings in horror ever. It is so high octane and so intense. I just fucking love this. This is a modern horror gem. What a banger Hunter x Hunter is. My next recommendation, more on the spooky side, right? Like, now, not everyone will vibe with this movie because it's basically 90 minutes of watching like trail cams. But if you like that sort of creepypasta vibe, if you like videos where people see creepy shit on their like trail cams, I think this movie will get you, because it creeped me right the fuck out. Sator follows Adam, who lives a solitary lifestyle in his isolated cabin in the woods. Day in, day out, he is setting up cameras and scrolling through the footage, trying to capture evidence of a creature named Sator. Now, this creature has all his life communed with his grandmother and seems to have wrapped its tendrils around his family. So he is looking for evidence of it, right? And you spend the whole time going, is Sator real? Is grandma involved? Is she just crazy? Is she got dementia? What the fuck is going on? You'll have to watch and find out. I'm not going to tell you. But I thought this one was really good, especially if you love that creepypasta shit. It's a lot like Within the Pines, as it's like just one guy walking through the woods trying to survive. It's got a little bit of a Paranormal Activity feel to it, but it's stuck with me, and not many people have seen it. So I'm now giving it to you. I am digging it up from the Spooky Nights Terror Minds and presenting this hidden gem to you. Go watch Sator. I really enjoyed it. Let me know if you managed to see this before me. I think it only just dropped on Prime Video. I think it did the festival circuit last year. It's a neat little horror gem, and I'm really stoked I found it. Hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. We are fast coming up on the annual Spooktober Watch Fest, where I watch 31 movies and give 31 reviews, one for every day in October. That's always, I look forward to that every year, even though I get fucking loopier every time I do it. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week for another review. Peace.